Hi YouTubers. Today I'm going to talk about just a topic that's not discussed very often, and it's called the value of silence. This began when one of my professors the other day stood in front of the class, and he made an observation upon how every individual seems to live their life in accordance with something that he calls a life theme. So, accordingly to the definition of a theme, it's an abstraction, it's an idea, it's a value that permeates every element of your identity, of your lifestyle, and your behaviors. So, for example, he said that his life theme was compassion, and so he constructed his life and his identity and his behaviors and lifestyle around that. And he then went on to remark how the life themes of individuals seems to be changing with recent generations. And then he threw the question out to the class. He said, your generation, around high school, college age, what are your life themes? And that really got me thinking. If any of you want to talk about what your life theme is, I encourage you to submit a video response if you have the time. But I thought really long and quite hard about this one, and I would have to say that my life theme is probably a meditation on something I call the value of silence. Now, it seems certainly sort of counterintuitive that I would talk about the value of silence, because it seems like silence is nothing more than the mere absence of something that has value. What value can there be found in silence? I make the distinction here between practicing silence and observing silence, because I don't think they are the same thing. I think that practicing silent, anybody can do. Practicing silent, anybody can really live by. Anybody can be silent for a period of time. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying, physically. But observing silence is a lot more difficult, and observing silence is a lot more wholesome. Observing silence does not necessitate being silent, although very often this is the case. Observing silence is more about the merits of having a quiet mind. I think that a lot of individuals, particularly in my age group, high school, university age, around there, are quite uncomfortable with silence, because we grew up in a world where silence is becoming more scarce. Our nights are shortening, and it's just this sort of pervasive idea, this obsession with noise that people sort of wallow and drown themselves in. I think a lot of individuals are frightened to sit in your room and close all the doors and turn off all external noise contamination and just sit there and sit there and sit there. I think that a lot of people in my generation are quite afraid of this, because first of all, it's unfamiliar. They've never had to do it before. And secondly, because when you isolate yourself like that, there is nowhere to run, literally, from yourself. You are there with yourself, and there is no way you can get out of that situation. It's just as it is. You're in a state of profound self-awareness, and I think that's what a lot of people my age are terrified of. Terrified. Now, I do practice silence. There are a few sort of little interesting, quirky habits that I sort of ingratiate into my lifestyle. For example, I've been told to I've been sort of known to, whenever possible, observe long periods of silence. I think the longest I've ever done is 11 days. I went 11 days about 2 years ago during the Christmas holidays from school in complete and utter silence. So that's not speaking to anybody. It's not speaking. It's not making human contact. It's just a state of profound isolation. And I think that, at first blush, it does seem sort of pathological. It does seem sort of maladaptive, but I don't think it's maladaptive so much as it's unusual, that people are unaccustomed to it. 11 days without noise, just sitting there, just being there with yourself is an isolating experience. But I think it's quite a profound one, and it really teaches you a lot. It teaches you about the elegance, the sheer profound elegance, and the grace that can be found in silence. And to me, observing silence is also about three more things. it implies simplicity, it implies a sense of gravitas, and it implies a sense of detachment, certainly. So simplicity, I mean, what do I mean by simplicity? Simplicity of sustenance. So for example, I only eat 2 meals a day. I have oatmeal in the morning and rice and vegetables at night, like clockwork. First of all, because simplicity is not the same as deprivation. Simplicity is about getting rid of things that you don't need, whereas deprivation is about not having things that you do need. I guess these terminal needs, as you can call it. But for me, simplicity is about, say, simplicity of sustenance, simplicity of clothing. I mean, I don't care that much about my appearance. I don't invest my time in fashionable mores. It's also about simplicity of, say, interpersonal relations. I keep my social circles very superficial, because to me, solitude is something that I quite highly value. I spend the majority of my time in solitude, and I think this for me is a lifestyle choice. I'm alone but not lonely. This may be sort of interesting and difficult for some people to understand, because they structure their lives around, other people. In terms of gravitas, I think gravitas also implies this sense of self-awareness, this idea of really being comfortable with yourself, which I don't think that a lot of people are today. I think a lot of people hate themselves. I think a lot of people aren't comfortable with who they are. I think that a lot of people are incapable of sitting in a room with themselves without tearing themselves to pieces. And I think this is why there is such a pervasive avoidance of silence. Gravitas also implies the sense of solemnity. I'm not saying that life should be all solemn, but I think that life should be taken with a sense of seriousness, because this is your one shot. And of course, I guess to me, observing silence also implies a sense of detachment from material relations. So that's, for example, my room is very Spartan. I have no decor. I own what I need, and I keep what I need, and I get rid of the things that I don't need. It also implies a detachment from, say, romantic and platonic entanglements. Detachment is important. To me, living life as a ghost, being able to truly, truly walk invisibly, I think there is an elegance in that. There really is. There's a poetic elegance in that. That I think a lot of people really, really overlook. I mean, another practice that I do, for example, is that I have a tendency to go for hour-long walks, in downtown Vancouver, a metropolitan city at night, and I just walk and I walk and I walk and I wander and I watch people, because this sort of natural state of observation, the state of detachment that seems to come so easily to me, is comforting, and it teaches me quite a lot. Now, I'm very aware that the value of silence resonates quite profoundly with, say, some monastic lifestyles. And I mean, even though I'm not religious, there are certain aspects of the monastic lifestyle that does resonate with me. I mean, things like, for example, between the time I wake up and the time I finish my first meal of the day, I don't speak. I mean, I observe silence. And this for me is a compromise, because realistically, you can't go on 11-day vows of silence if you have a job and you have school. There's a certain sort of minimal level of communication in those environments. But small compromises like this help remind me of what my life theme is, of what are the things that I value. Do I think that youth of my generation really need to revisit the value in silence? Yes, I do. I think that being able to sit in a room comfortably with yourself, with no distractions, comfortably with yourself, is something that every human being should be able to do. And I think it's something that a lot of people in my age group are losing the ability to do, the value of silence. I would say that that's my life theme. So if any of you have a response to this, or you're interested further in what I mean by the value of silence, or you want to submit your own life theme, I encourage you to, because I think this is something that a lot of us should really think about. Thank you.